morning, this is Thomas from thomasyoungauthor.com, and this is another morning update. Today is August 1st, 2026, and it's 8:30 a.m. And before we start talking about today's subject, I'll tell you something about what happened the other day. I think 2 or 3 days ago, someone wanted to befriend me on Facebook. And then I accepted that friend request, and then he sent me nude pictures, or some pictures displaying some nude imagery of himself. And then this was a sort of one-time picture. You can click on it one time, and then you can never open it again. And this is how the gang stalkers basically intimidate you online. So I'm no longer on the dating website. So while I was on dating websites, on the Grindr dating app, on the Gay Romeo website and stuff like that, you know, this would happen to me on a daily basis. Like they would all do the same things. So what they will do is they will send you these nude pictures, and they ask you, what do you think of them? Do you find me hot? Would you like to fuck me? Something like that. And then they would ask you for nude pictures. And then the point is, you don't have nude pictures. So they're acting as if I don't have nude pictures because I'm somehow insecure, or, you know, whatever, you know, because I don't like sending them around. But these are basically threats, you know, because what they're basically saying is, you know, you may still live, but we will make sure nobody gets near you, and you will never have access to sex and sexuality. I mean, this is what the gay world is like now. And there's so many people involved in it. When you go through this, when I've went through in the last 10 years, it is almost unbelievable. It is very hard to grasp and to actually believe that this is what is going on. You cannot. These things are so unbelievable. At first, you know, because for years I was thinking, you know, because the extreme gang stalking, sort of the daily gang stalking that goes on all day, and the intimidation, everything, you know, that comes in sort of in flashes. Sort of there are periods when it's very intense, and then there are periods that it's almost gone, but it always comes back, if you know what I mean. And yeah, that's so when there was a period where it was gone, you thought, oh, you just imagined it. It was not real. You know, this is all not real. You're seeing things that are not there. And you know, mental health professionals and others were also trying to convince me that these things are not real. But now that I'm actually good and better, and I feel better, and I feel clear, and I'm, you know, that no, I'm convinced these things were all real. And the other day, they let you know that they're still watching you, and that you will never ever have your life back. That's basically what they were saying. And the last few days I have been talking to you about you know, the pigs and the piggies that live in this area, and who are basically part of the gang stalking network. And this network is basically being held together by the piggy parties. Also, this is also, if you would tell anybody like 20 years ago, they wouldn't believe you. But I think now people do. These are basically sex parties, when they sort of do drugs and sometimes have sex. And I've been telling you, you know, about that. And what is important to understand is that one of the drivers behind this was, of course, the drug methamphetamine. And I've seen that drug being used, because it used to be 20-25 years ago, it was very expensive, and only a few people did it, only people who engaged in really, you know, extreme sexual practices, or prostitutes or so. But now ever more people are doing it. And I always wonder, why did it get so popular? And I think one of the reasons is, or an important reason is, you have to see it. I've been telling you about the gay community basically being this manosphere. And it's not any different from the manosphere that they show you on, that liberal-minded people now portray as this, you know, as being homophobic and, you know, all that kind of stuff. And no, the gay community is just a manosphere like that. The only difference is that they do it with men and not with women. That's the only difference. Because you see, why did methamphetamine get so popular? Because it is basically, people who engage in it are basically engaging in a chicken game. Because you can show your manhood, your virility, your dominance over other men by proving that you can take, you know, a drug as strong and potent as methamphetamine. Because, you know, it is a sort of next level drug. This is not cannabis or cocaine or a sort of, you know, sort of the mild amphetamines. This is really strong stuff. And very psychopathic people can take it, and the ones who can be very disciplined when it comes to drug taking. But it is a habit that is, you know, when you know, it is basically, you know, even for prolonged use, it will eventually catch up on you. But I've witnessed with these men, they don't care. If you see what I mean, they know what they've gotten themselves into, and that sooner or later they will die. These people, I've seen people, good people, perfectly fine people, turn into almost like psychopathic people. People who couldn't care, who got a criminal mind, you know, became sadistic and stuff like that. And they don't care anymore at some point whether they live or die. But they like to continue playing the chicken game. And I think that is one of the reasons why it got so important and why it has taken over the gay community. The other day, I also talked to you about that for me as a homosexual person, my preferred way of having sex was going to, I don't know, the bathhouses. And in the large cities, these used to be safe places to go. At least they felt safe, and I never had any problems back then. But, you know, the last bathhouse I went to in Amsterdam is basically the only one that's left. Now I realized that wasn't a safe place anymore. Because I didn't go there very often. I went there irregularly, but let's say I went there every 6 weeks, maybe 2 months. But every single time I was there, every single time, there was another guy there, and his name is Tofik Dibi, and he's he used to be a politician in this country, a left-wing politician from the Green Party. And he's also, I think, of Moroccan descent. And he was always there. And the strange thing, and the first time I was there, I actually engaged in sexual activity with him, and thereafter never. And he was only in the sort of the darkroom area, and he was basically doing nothing. He wasn't engaging with anybody. He wasn't engaging in any sexual activity. But he always had people there, younger guys, or perhaps also of Moroccan descent, who he sent out to talk to other people. And that was strange, because I was always thinking, okay, every time I come here, he is here. He isn't talking to anyone. He's only in the darkroom area, standing around, doing nothing. What is that about? Why doesn't he talk to me, or anybody else for that matter? And people tell me who the owners of this place are, and that's not him. But he's apparently keeping an eye on people there, and the owners of the place are okay with that. So you wonder, what is his role in this? You know, because I've been telling you, I mean, a lot of information about, or supposed information, now things that went on there, what I did in those things, landed with people here at the piggy parties, the piggy party people. And I found that strange, because are they linked to him? Because he was watching me, apparently. And he comes across as some kind of gangster. I mean, he was in the news the other day, where it was reported that he was a fugitive, because he had to leave his apartment, and he had a lot of debts and stuff like that. I don't know. Then I saw the other day that he released, he brought out a press release where he said, no, everything is fine. I mean, the guy is a gangster. he failed as a politician. Then he wrote a book, a coming out story book, which he got an hour on television for to talk about, and he couldn't even utter a straight sentence. And I've always found that a really strange guy, and I also have a feeling that he is involved in the stalking that surrounds me, because, you know, I find it all strange. And if you look at pictures from him, I mean, the guy is my age. I mean, look at him. He is a guy who looks like he does a lot of methamphetamine. That's what your face looks like if you use methamphetamine a lot. And, you know, I've been talking about, you know, being homosexual, being gay, what it means to be gay, and how that is different from the gay identity. And he's the kind of guy, and he wrote that in his coming out book. And I mean, I even left a comment on his page, and then he befriended me on my old Instagram account. And I said, you know, what I find strange about these people, for years he was, you know, ashamed, or he was hiding his homosexuality, and he still feels uneasy about it, because he's one of the people, you know, because I have engaged in sexual activity with me, who I describe in my last essay, who cannot basically are unable to enjoy sex, even though they feel attracted to people of the same sex. They're in the end unable to enjoy it, and therefore they do a lot of drugs, including methamphetamine. But you see, first he goes from being, you know, a closeted homosexual to the other end of the extreme, to basically a gay gangster who wears, I don't know, rainbow, you know, has all these rainbow colored socks and everything. He believes in the rainbow. I mean, you can see it in that television interview. He uses the word queer. He's all in on, you know, the latest ideological nonsense surrounding the gay and queer identity. And at the same time, he's a gangster doing methamphetamine. I don't know. I don't get these people. I find them really strange, but I have a feeling they have something to do with the gang stalking. Not only with me. I mean, I've known many people who died, who must have been the victims of gang stalking, including some friends of mine. Okay, that was it for today. Thank you for listening. Have a nice day. Have a nice weekend.